welcome to the Geek Cause live stream.
Very special live stream.
A very, very special live stream. If you... Oh, let me just fix this camera here. If you don't know what's going on, and you're brand new to anything, you haven't seen the socials, or listened to any of the other podcasts...
All other 19 episodes.
19 episodes of the podcast. We are doing a special live stream episode of our 20th episode, where there will be cake, as they say.
There will be cake.
There will be cake.
And it is not a lie. This is not fake news.
No, there's no fake news. The cake is not a lie. We are live streaming us eating cake and talking about whatever we want to talk about. Now, Kyle, while you got your phone out, start posting to people that we're live and ready
That's exactly
to go.
What I'm doing.
So, while you're doing that, why don't you just tell us a little bit what's been going on with your life, and then I'll also make sure things are posted for everybody.
My life's been very uneventful. It's a lot of work, and more work. My day-to-day these days.
That's good, though.
It is good.
You're
making that money.
Making that money, making that bank. We got someone taking pictures of us in the background. It's perfect.
What?
Are you singing our theme song?
Yeah.
Our entrance music?
It's in my head now.
So, you're working at Curry's PC World.
PC World.
And have you done anything so far that has made you be like, oh, well, if I wouldn't have been working here, I wouldn't have learned, known, or have done that?
Not really, no.
Oh, God. Now, in case you aren't familiar with the Pokemon Sword and Shield controversy, the overarching theme behind it is that currently there are restrictions to what Pokemon are going to be in the new Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
And they are going to limit like what you can't bring certain Pokemon to the newer games, like but basically they're calling it Dexit because the Pokemon what's it called? The Pokedex is being super limited, and they're not letting in certain Pokemon anymore. And you can't transfer them in or anything. Now,
So you're saying that they built a wall in the Pokedex
yeah,
to stop letting certain Pokemon in?
pretty much. The Pokemon immigrants. Now, the reason why people are so upset isn't because of that, like the reason of that specifically. Is not because you can't necessarily catch them all, but I think the biggest issue for them is the fact that you can't catch them all, and they're dropping the ball in a lot of different areas as well.
They're dropping the
Pokeball. Yeah, I get it. They're dropping the Pokeball because gross. Because you're not going to be able to there's so much stuff that's missing from the game. Apparently 144 moves were cut.
Like Moonwalk and Saturday Night Fever.
The number of usable Pokemon, those are cut. I think it's like half or something like that. I have it right here in front of me. Why don't I just... The thing that sucks is, with the graphics is, they're not the worst, right? They're not like the absolute worst graphics, but the thing that bothers me the most about it is, for a game that's going to be our open world Pokemon that everyone's been wanting, right? And everyone's been waiting for forever. They've made the graphics very, very limiting, and you compare it to some of the games that are out on the Switch already, and you're just like, why for the Pokemon game that gets literally twice the funding of, like, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, why are they, like, why does the game look so bad in comparison?
They can't even blame it on hardware because the bloody Witcher 3 is running on the Switch.
Now,
so they cannot blame it on hardware either.
Exactly. And the thing that's even more annoying is the reason why Pokemon were cut was because they said they were focused on graphics, animations, and all that stuff. But the animations look lackluster. Like, I don't know if I can find one of the animations that I saw of that was like in the game, but it was like absolutely laughable. I probably won't be able to find it. But
Because Sir Fetched killed all the Pokemon they cut. They are extinct now.
now, obviously, these are just what people have seen. But this isn't gonna? It's not gonna bring any up. All right. Well, it was showed one of the Pokemon, right? And there was like a cutscene where they were talking, and it's like a dog type of Pokemon, and the dog like runs up and it goes Baroof, right? And that was the dialogue line I had. And it turns around to walk away, and it turns like this. It goes like completely stationary and moves like this to turn around.
Oh, so it's walking animation just rotating, like an
Yes.
old PS2 game.
Yes, a walking animation rotating. And they turn around and it just walks away, and I'm just like, oh my god, please let this be just like an early access sort of thing. Because I kind of defended in the sense of Pokemon didn't need to be very like hyper amazing and realistic, because it never was. But for it to be that bad still, when we're supposed to have this like super immersive, like super awesome Pokemon game.
Even on the podcast, we defended some of the animations from that first trailer that we got.
Yeah. We were like, oh no, like it's actually not that bad, you know? It's pretty decent.
But apparently now that's out, it's not.
Well, what sucks too is there's really dumb things that they decide to do with the Pokemon as well. Like not the Pokemon, but the game itself. The sound settings are locked to where you can't edit or change sound settings unless you find an NPC that's never talked about and you talk to him. You talk to the NPC, he gives you an item called earbuds, and then you use the item that lets you change the sound settings. I'm not kidding. This is what's been datamized.
Can't be a thing.
You say that.
That's... What?
You say that.
So I have to get an item in-game to access my settings.
Now, this is still something that can be changed until it's released to the public, but based on data mined resources so far and leaks that they have, because people have been playing the game, it has been out for reviewers, because, yes, you wouldn't have expected it, but live here on the podcast, right before we started, the reviews were allowed to be released, and we already have reviews set up that we're going to take a look at for Pokemon Sword and Shield from critics. But yes, you can't until you get the options in the high-tech earbuds. You
can't control
it.
And I just seen one of the auto settings there in that little picture was Pokemon cries.
Yeah, you turn off Pokemon cries like that.
Yeah, you just mute them. So you don't have to hear their suffering and pain.
I don't think it's only suffering and pain that they'd make their cries for, but you know what? You're kind of right.
Yeah. Well, it's Pokemon. All they do is fight.
But yeah, like I said, the game is shorter, only like 18 hours, which, I mean, Pokemon games aren't super long, right? But
You'd want something
18 hours for an open world Pokemon
like your
game for the
first
Nintendo Switch.
open world Pokemon game, you'd expect there to be a bit more in it. You'd expect it to average out about 20 hours.
For the first individual Pokemon game.
Yeah.
On the Switch, you know what I mean? Like, they have Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, but those are kind of like introductory Pokemon games.
You'd kind of expect them to flex a little bit, like, hey, look what we can do with our first main proper flagship game on this console.
It's real sad. Game dead on arrival, rip Pokemon. I mean, it sucks too, because I will play the game to test it out myself and try it out,
yeah.
But there's no way that I'm buying it for full price at launch, ever. Like, there's no way. I'm probably going to mod my Switch, and I'll probably get it legally. Very legally.
Very legally.
And then I be like, man, I could have just played old Pokemon if I wanted this, even though it was supposed to be the next level. About to play Ruby again. Ruby is great. I have Soul Sapphire, no, not Soul Sapphire. What am I talking about? Alpha Ruby and Omega Sapphire on my Nintendo 3DS, and the game looks about as good as what we've gotten so far from the Switch version. But yeah, I kind of wanted to bring that up and just talk about how this is like the biggest thing in the news right now. Dexit.
And the fact that they're calling it that.
You know it's serious when they're taking a huge controversy and like...
Well, it is the internet.
I mean, yeah. Now, on to this next thing. Have you ever played Super Mario 64?
I have.
Alright.
Played it to death. I actually broke my old DS, like the first DS. I broke it because I overheated the screen because I played it for too long.
Oh, you played the version for the DS?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I also played the old version as well, but I'm saying that I broke my DS playing.
By playing it up. No. No. This was released 3 days ago. So, somebody worked on Super Mario 64 like mod that takes Super Mario like Land, like the game, the worlds, like Super Mario World and stuff like that, and they made a whole mod where it's just like different changed up levels and stuff like we're gonna watch this video for everyone. Like if you're on the listen to the podcast, I apologize, this will be taken out.
That does look pretty damn awesome.
I'm thinking about playing this. Thinking about getting this and playing this and streaming it because it looks amazing.
That looks pretty damn fun.
Now, I literally have nothing else to say except for I wanted to show you this and see what your thought process was on it.
I think that looks
But it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's a good meme. Is it legal to stream? Well, it's a mod of a game, so it's hard to say.
Yeah, it's in like a gray area.
Because it's from a game that's from, what, 1999, I think?
Yeah, I think so.
So I don't even know if, like, the rights to it are still in general. Nintendo stuff is always a gray area. No matter what you play. But see, the thing is you have so many people that still play it anyways. Some of them get in trouble, some of them don't.
Yeah, it seems to be really hit or miss.
I think we talked about this, actually, on the podcast before.
Yeah.
Is that it's literally, like, they just pick and choose who they want to shit on. And it's usually, like, the more high-profile people that get in trouble for it because
so
obviously
you'll be fine then. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so high-profile. If you're plugging up with 6 viewers like us, they don't care. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is, though. I mean, if you have a huge fan base, they're gonna look at it and be like, "What the hell?" But when it's someone like you've emulated Fire Emblem. It's really oh my god, I've emulated stuff. That's the thing too. Is what's also weird is it's technically legal if you have your cartridge, like you actually legally have the game. The problem is with that though is it has to be a ROM dump of the game that you specifically own. So like if you were to have a different version, something like that, and they wanted to do legal stuff against you, technically they could be like, well, what's the version of your ROM? How did you dump it onto your computer? It's just stupid. Yes, exactly. The distribution is very illegal when it comes to ROMs. Having a ROM isn't illegal. I think that people forget that. Yeah. Having a ROM and playing a ROM, that's not what's illegal.
Yes.
Getting those ROMs and distributing them is what... It's the same as, like, pirated content, right?
Yeah.
Copying the material that you own onto a different medium for you is fine.
It's when you get...
It's hard to get anything, like, to have anybody do anything to you.
But Cody, you wouldn't steal a car.
The reason why that adds so bad to me is because the way that they make it sound is like that if you are making copies of something,
it's like stealing a car.
You're automatically doing it to sell it or give it to somebody else, and it's not on your own.
I would steal a car.
It's sick.
I think we need to screen capture that for if he's ever like suspected of theft.
Yeah, I'm gonna replay the VOD and take a screen capture of that. But it's literally it's something that there's such a gray areas around copyrighted material and how you work with it, and I think that when it comes to like pirating stuff, yes, obviously that's illegal. We've all done it though, I think. But
we haven't though.
Never. But we all have. But we haven't. It's dumb because to compare it to something as literally going out and stealing a car from somebody that's something that's one physical item that person can never get back is completely different than just taking something and making a copy of it and that person still has a car.
Yeah.
They'd be like,
I'm robbing you at gunpoint, but this is the same as downloading Nickelback's new album.
Why would you do that? It's literally it's literally like if you took someone's car and you somehow made an exact copy of it and then you were like, I'm taking this, ha sucker, and then they're just like, all right, well, it's like, I'm not out on anything.
I'm stealing your car but giving you this car that's the exact same as your car.
Yeah, well, you just 3D print the car, it's fine.
Yeah, would that be illegal though?
No. Yes. I don't know. When it comes to 3D printing, this is what I've always wanted to know. How much of stuff is actually capable of being... Can you
3D print a soul?
Couldn't you just, like, with the right material, if it's, like, able to be, like, a printed sort of medium...
3D print a printer?
Couldn't you 3D print anything? As long as you could, like, individually build the parts? They have 3D printers that... Yeah, I mean, like, 3D printing has... It's because they're trying to save costs, save time, save energy... I'm curious, could you 3D print a car? If you made it out of a material that could have, like, the combustion system work without damaging the material, and you 3D printed each individual part as its individual, people have. There you go.
Question answered.
Sources.
But I imagine it would come up like, that one Johnny Cash song. The one about him working in the car factory. And that, like, throughout the year... Every day he steals one piece at a time in his lunchbox. But it took him like a bunch of years to do it, so by the end of it he had a car that ranged from like 20 years.
Sounds like a lot of bullshit. But, I mean, yeah, we could talk about 3D printers all day. We could literally talk about 3D printers all day.
Hello, and welcome to the 3D printer edition of the Geek Cause podcast.
Here we only talk about 3D printers, filaments that can be used in your 3D printers, different materials that we can create, and also...
If this episode gets 20,000 views, we will 3D print Cody.
I will be fully 3D printed.
So when he goes back to America, he'll still be here.
Alright.
Okay.
See you later.
Start it. I'll see what I can input. If I cannot input anything, I'll just leave. My podcast now. Woo!
China recently put on a curfew and a time limit for how long their children could play video games. Has no one heard about this?
I have.
Oh, okay. So, I
thought you had something else to say. I was waiting in anticipation.
Oh, no. So,
I was waiting for like a zinger.
So apparently...
Full stop at the end of that sentence.
Apparently they're terrified that these kids are going to be so addicted to video games that it's going to cause so many issues. Even though, like, they... See, this is what I don't understand is... This is... Over the last, 10 years, they finally started to get mainstream video game, game stuff in. Like, it was all, like, third-party, like, black market shit for a long time. Now they'll never win the esports, or you're going to be a miserable country. China does have more problems than this, and then that's why this is such a weird thing. And it just shows that they're trying to take control over something, just to impose control over it.
You think Blizzard had anything to do with this?
I think the negative backlash that people are getting from that probably is one of the reasons.
Might have drew their attention to it.
But I think the bigger reason is... I think they've realized that the Chinese people, are starting to stray away from their, like, oh, China is the best thing ever and our overlords are amazing, and they're starting to, like, get more free will.
Western vices.
Yes, and they think that because they're completely oblivious to the fact that it's simply because they're starting to understand where their country is and what little rights they have, that they fail to realize that it's not because of video games that they're losing, like, their influence over and they're getting too much of Western influence. I mean, it's not helping, probably. I mean, you do get Western influence when you play a game, but still. What's going on here?
Do you think it's because of everything that's just happening at the moment that they just think...
Speak up.
Do they just think that video games are bad, and they think that, oh, if we put like a curfew on these video games, that, I don't know, it might make people better in a way. Silly things. It's stupid, like it makes no sense to me. Because video games have been around for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. And there's just no like proof that people become violent because of video games, or people become bad people because of video games.
Right, but when it comes to China, they've not had a very video game centric sort of open like worldview for a long. I mean, it's been like not there. There's no mass video game presence like 10, 20 years ago. There was like no video games. They were banned.
Do you think they're just trying to like then control their people?
I think it's literally they're putting more control into something that they are noticing that they're losing control of. And that's legitimately what I think it is. They're losing. See, this is the thing that's really weird is in esports, you have these Chinese teams that are starting to rise to prominence, and they're doing good. In fact, a Chinese team, I think it was a Chinese team, yeah, just won for a second year in a row League of Legends Worlds. Ooh. And that's all fun, like, you know, fine and dandy. The thing is, though, is the Chinese are this really weird thing where people think that they're just like, oh, communist China, they have us, but like China's like the farthest thing from communism in any sense, except for the fact that like in non-theoretical communism, where like the government is completely in control of everything and like dictate people and like force them into do terrible things, like they're like the worst combination of all the bad parts of a sort of like socialistic country mixed with capitalism.
There's like places like Russia and Cuba took the idea of like communism and socialism and tried to make it work. It had some good parts of it, then there was a lot of bad parts. And then China came along like, we want some of this too, and only took the bad parts.
It's like the weirdest, most capitalistic, but also like the worst parts of an authoritarian government ever.
Because we know communism is pro video games. That's where Tetris came from.
I mean, like, yeah.
It's not even a joke. It's actually true.
It's something where I think when it comes to this is, and in those esports teams, this is what I was getting at, is in those esports teams, each one of them are owned by like huge businesses, like that are their sponsors. Like one of them was owned by like a huge Chinese bank. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that bank is owned then from the government, because it's such a weird thing. It's such a weird place. So you have these like weird controls over stuff, and you have these games they're being set where there's more limits onto what they could do. And I think it's because of, kind of what you said, in the sense of a lot of Western influence might have come from those games.
Yeah.
But it's also because they're realizing that with that Western influence, but also because of them allowing this stuff, yes, they're getting more money into their country because more stuff is selling, but they're feeling like they're losing a grip. And what do you try to go back on when you start to realize you're losing a grip? Everything that you were doing before that changed.
Yeah. It just kind of dawned on me there. What they're doing with games is kind of what they've been doing with movies for decades now. Where like movies in China, you don't get released in China unless you pander to China. So unless you have, Chinese actors in it, or China's mentioned in a good way, your movie doesn't do well in China.
They do ban a lot, don't they?
They ban a lot of movies, and movies that they do allow, they can't find a reason to ban, they just don't show. So it doesn't make money.
Yeah.
So they don't bother releasing them in China anymore.
Well, in the Chinese movie market...
I have read that recently, actually, yeah.
The Chinese movie market for a long time was also part of the you can't get anything except for China-approved stuff anyways. Yeah. So
they're just kind of starting to regulate video games now the same way that they've regulated movies, where the only games you're actually going to be allowed to freely play are going to be the pro-China video games, which there are none of.
Yeah.
And you're right. The Chinese movie market lately does make or break the success of a film.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure it was China that pushed Avengers Endgame over the limit to be the most profitable movie ever.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah, because it was something about the Joker movie and Avengers Endgame. That's what I was reading about, and they were saying about like how much they made and everything, and how China played a part in all of that. And Yeah, and I found it just really bizarre. I was like, okay, fair enough. If you want a movie to do good, you have to release it in China.
You have to pander to Chinese audience in some way.
Yeah.
This though is like you're saying like, it's a bit of old info and that it's way less messed up. But there has also been something that was released recently. We didn't talk about it in the last podcast, but I did notice it where we found out that a lot of the movies that are being released in China that are like the same movies we get here, like yes, they appear to have changed a lot of like a lot of their rules and regulations to what they'll show, and they're letting more stuff in, and they're doing that because they want more money, they want more profit,
Yeah.
they want people to put business in it because China wants business, right?
Yeah.
Now, what we've found out though is a lot of those Chinese movies, like the releases of those movies, have been altered in many ways to show more Chinese influence in them, or like as far as editing whole characters that are Chinese just to make it more appear better. And no, the thing is like China literally owns the U.S.
Yeah, so like if you default on your debts, pretty much China literally owns the country at that point.
Well, I mean,
Oh my gosh.
I mean, like the U.S. technically owes China millions and millions and millions.
More than that.
Like, yes, but I'm just
Even
saying,
more than that.
Trillions.
like
I'm
Gazillions.
pretty sure it's in the trillions at this point.
so this is why I also don't understand like the weird tariff situation that Trump is kind of putting in, without going too far into the political spectrum of stuff, but just I don't understand why anybody thinks that's a smart move to make when literally we've already owe them over 1 trillion, dollars in stuff. Like they think that somehow strong arming them with tariffs, making them have to do what we say or pay more, like they care.
Because they don't need to. Everything China needs, they make inside of China anyways.
It's
Literally everything is
Yeah.
made in China.
Because they're like totally able to just be by themselves, and they
Yeah.
don't need anything, or they don't need anybody because they just
We're
have
gonna
each
live in our own
other.
little bubble here.
yeah. So when it comes to like this like worried about being addicted to video games, this is, I think we can all come to agreement that it's pretty much just a control aspect, because I don't think anybody actually believes that playing a video game is making you. I mean, like, yes, Asian countries have been known to get pretty intense into video games, but that's because for a long time, this is more like 10 years ago, I think, is when it was at its worst, like 10 plus years ago, before they started actually just trying to promote healthier mindsets in Asians. But like in Asian countries, the work life and like home life and social life balance was so terribly fucked that like the suicide rate in Asian countries was astronomical.
Yeah.
People were killing themselves left, right, and center because they hated themselves. You know what I mean? And it's because of the work life balance and stuff that they had.
Yeah,
And
pretty rough.
Yeah, it's not good.
I do feel sorry for China. Some China, parts of China, certain people in China. Mainly not the rich people in China.
I mean, I feel bad for the general Chinese population for what they have to endure. It's absolutely terrible, but
like, wasn't like last year, the year before, they made the new law that the new Chinese leader can run for as long as they want.
I'm not sure.
Wasn't that a thing where they abolished the term?
It's probably, but
More than likely.
The thing is there's so many issues with China that can't even be fixed, even with having a 10 years worth of work put into it. And
I think what needs to happen is like,
I mean, I feel sorry for Hong Kong too.
I think it was in like the Victorian era, Japan tried to invade China. I feel like having a really massive Japan would do greatness for the world.
Except for the fact that the Japanese are literally known to, at least for the longest time, were literally known to be some of the most racist and
Exactly.
oppressive individuals in the world.
At least they're open about it.
I mean, like they've changed a lot over the years, but they've
Like if they had control of all of China, it would just be nothing but like maid cafes and anime.
you realize that
Cafes.
you realize that the U.S. made that, right? Like made Japan what they are.
Yeah.
I want to go to
because
Japan
you nuked
so
them
bad.
twice. That's
Huh?
what happens when you nuke a country twice.
I mean, yeah, that's true. let's be honest, all these problems are awful, but my boy Squirtle is not in the new Pokemon. Are you telling me that Squirtle's not in the new Pokemon? Are we going back to the first topic that Rich missed?
Go and get Squirtle. He's not in this stream. I got Squirtle in the bedroom.
You have a Squirtle? Oh.
Bulbasaur isn't either. What the fuck?
What?
Next you're going to tell me like Charizard isn't.
What?
Alright, first let me see some of the stuff that we missed. No, of course, Charmander. This is the thing is, I'm all about taking out certain Pokemon and adding in new ones to try and get people to want to play with new Pokemon. But
it's racism.
but the problem is that I don't see it being more beneficial than just including everything.
Do you think we'll get DLC?
No, I think we'll get. I think
will unlock like a new region, and then you get those Pokemon.
No, I think you'll get Sword and Shield too.
You think they'll just put out a sequel like next year or the year after?
Yeah, and stuff will be crossed between that. They've already said that they have no plans to input those Pokemon in the game at all.
Damn, dude.
It's stupid.
That's sad.
Okay, it's my podcast now.
Here's something we could talk about. Have you seen the new redesign for Sonic?
Yes.
The new redesign for
better.
Sonic. Oh
Yes.
yeah, let's bring that up real quick.
It's so much better.
Oh, it makes me so happy to see.
As soon as I seen it, I was like, thank God
Like,
that looks...
look at him.
Porygon OP. So the new Sonic redesign.
He's beautiful.
Are we gonna all agree that it just looks better?
It's so much better.
Like, everything about it looks better. Now, some of these are just like stuff that people have done, like fan made, but
Yeah.
most of these you see they've actually redone the new Sonic movies art style.
He doesn't look scary anymore.
Yeah,
No.
he doesn't like something you'd see like. He looks like some.
Sonic is not in the new Pokemon game either,
Damn it.
and it's super upsetting, to be honest. Super upsetting. But no, the new Sonic redesign looks like if they would have came out with this, the movie would have got so much press.
I actually
Yeah.
agreed with Corey's comment there that they must have just done the really dodgy one for publicity because
No, I was just about.
I did some research into this, and apparently the studio, I can't remember the actual name of the animation studio. They do games mainly.
Yeah.
This is their first proper live action film that they've done, and they said that this Sonic that we see now is closer to what their original design was, and that it was Sony Studios who
asked for
the
the
other
change.
one. They pushed for the change.
No, I'm gonna say right now that because I was just about to say this until I saw what he said. This is I think it's dumb to think that this was a publicity stunt because the reaction was so bad you almost lost anybody even ever caring about it.
Yeah, it almost killed the movie.
I mean they released a trailer and then everyone was just like that. No.
I
No,
think
no.
Yeah.
I
They
think
literally lost money instantly because nobody would have gone to see the movie with their original design of Sonic because it
Yeah.
was absolutely awful. How could you sit through an hour plus movie with that?
I think what it was is if you look at it,
Teeth.
if you look at it, they made it like that, and I guarantee you because I've heard the same thing is you're dumb now, and they created it, and I bet you it was probably closer to that because they have to go through countless iterations and stuff, and guaranteed Sony was like, make it look more like the actor because all these like animated movies and stuff like that, they like it when creatures and stuff like that kind of have some sort of bearing resemblance to the human that's portraying it, right?
Yeah.
They always do that in like these sort of animated movies. I'm not saying this that I can't remember his name, the voice actor for it. I'm not saying that he like looks exactly like Sonic,
looks
but I'm
like
saying they
But
like
he
it to
looks
look.
more-
Yes, they like it to look more humanistic and more and like it looks.
Yeah.
Well, you
place
can look at like
closer to it.
Pikachu when Pikachu came out. I mean, I think I smiled from start to finish in that movie because
Yeah.
it was just so.
It was literally just Pikachu.
It was just so perfect. All of them, not just Pikachu,
Yeah.
like all of the Pokemon that were in it. I was just like, oh, this is exactly how like
Yeah.
I wanted this to be.
And from a visual
it-
effects standpoint, it was beautifully well
Yeah,
done as well. It
exactly.
wasn't messy.
Like you cannot sit and watch that, because that is
No.
not anyway like pretty. You know, you can't enjoy yourself because like even his hands, like look at his hands, like it's ridiculous.
It's like little like mouse hands.
Mr. Mime.
And it's
Mr. Mime was Nightmare Fuel, but he's always been Nightmare Fuel.
and I think when it
Yeah,
came
he's
to
not a nice Pokemon.
No.
I've never liked Mr. Mime. Even when I was a kid and watched
No.
Pokemon, I did not like him.
when it came to this though is I think that people have to also remember that like when you're saying that this was literally just a PR stunt, like I'm not saying that maybe they decided to change it all because they got so much bad feedback that they were like, let's just change it all and we'll push back the movie and it'll be good for publicity. But like the animators that put all their time and effort and resources into this,
Yeah.
and then to like be told like the ones that came in to help fix it. So they actually hired in the newest Sonic that came out.
Yeah.
The creator, what's his name? Or her name, I can't remember. But
Yeah, I can't
like,
remember off the top of my head.
but from the Sonic Mania, they had that creator come in.
Sorry, Rich.
They had that character or that creator come in and actually help with the, like try to find some sort of middle ground and help with like their more newer design of like way that they portrayed it. Like they came out and even said that they were like brought in for it. And it's one of those things where I just don't see them wasting time, effort, resources, and all this stuff to create two versions of
The movie was slated to come out. It was supposed
to come out like now.
Yeah, November.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out in like November.
And the movie was done. The VFX were done when we got that first trailer, which means the movie was completely finished visual effects wise. It was just polishing touches at the end of it. So in those, say, 4-month period, they had to redo every VFX shot with Sonic. But then that would mean they'd have to do every explosion and every bit of lighting because as when you look at it, you can see that the textures on his face and stuff have changed.
Yeah.
So which means they have to do the color grading again. And all the visual effects lighting wise and how it reflects off them, they would have to redo all that again.
But that's why when you look at it too, and if you look at like the redesign, and I'm not like this is no way shitting on, but if you look at the redesign, you can tell that they put a lot of effort into it, but that they rushed it. Because if you look at it, it doesn't look as
crisp as it could be.
As crisp as it could be. Where like the original looks fucking horrible, but it looks like realistic horrible, if that makes sense. Like it looks like a Nightmare Fuel for real, where you can tell that this redesign that they did, they were literally like, we'll put all of our time and effort and resources into making this not be Nightmare Fuel, but at least look good, but it's not going to be able to be completely refined as it was.
I mean, realistically, they had to make them look cuter, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, because even if you had him like designed how Sonic does look, if you made him hyper realistic, that would still be terrifying.
Yeah,
because if he looks too real, that just messes with your head.
It does.
It's
make
uncanny.
You feel good.
It's uncanny. It's like Henry
exactly
Cavill's upper lip in Justice League.
Oh my
Corey said
gosh,
I've never disagreed with you about some stuff. Hey man, that's fine. That's the disagreements are made on. I'm not going to believe that everything in the world is fake news just because, and everything's fabricated just for the money and the view aspect.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff is, but I just can't sit there and say that all that time and effort was put into that. And there are so many people, like animators, that came out and said we're sorry for this quality that we did.
Well, just like what Bevan just said there, they still have another 4 months before they actually release it. Do you think maybe they just redid the trailer?
It's very possible.
And
they
they're
could have
still
done that,
actually working on like on
rest of the
Sonic
movie.
for the movie. You know, maybe they just kind of was like, right, okay, did not go good. We need to like reevaluate everything.
Yeah.
And then maybe they just redid the trailer.
Because it's slated for a Valentine's release day now.
I wouldn't even be surprised.
Yeah,
if,
that was the 14th, right? Of February, yeah. So maybe that could be a case either.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it even didn't get pushed back still.
I want a literal hedgehog too, a blue one.
Yeah.
But hedgehogs are cute. The original Sonic that they did for this movie was not cute.
Corey said it's still possible the shit one was done for only the trailer too, though.
No, but see, I get you saying that if it was just a trailer, but when multiple animators and one of the lead creative designers of the film have come out and said it's a shit show, they've been told by executives from every which angle to change stuff, it's kind of harder to
me
go with that because you'd be tanking your company's stock, not just getting promotion for the movie.
I hope it's not actually fixed and the shitty one is still in the movie.
Yeah,
That would be terrible.
You just trick everybody.
Just halfway through it changes with no explanation.
But
Like a glitch.
But in all honesty, it's exactly what you said. It's like believing that like excuse where people are like, oh, vaccines do cause autism and they're not good for you, and it's just a huge conspiracy theory from the top down about how like doctors are in on it, and the nurses are in on it, and the legal workers who write up the papers are in on it, and the people that sell the product are in on it, and it really makes you think like, okay, so you think the animators are in on it and they're lying about it because they're in on it, and there's been no leak about how this is from anybody that works at the company about how this is fake. You know what I mean? Like, it just sounds, it's one of those things where you're just looking too far into it and saying, yeah, it could be a big, huge PR stunt, and everybody knew how it was going to be.
Yeah, I think it should be like what he said, that all the trailer scenes are fixed, but the rest is so gross. So it's like only like 1 or 2 scenes throughout the film where it just changes.
And then
it's
his
really
weird
good.
human teeth just pop up.
And Corey, like, I know it's not a completely fair. It's not a huge. I'm not saying that it's the same comparison in terms of its level of how much it matters. I'm saying like, not even on the same scale, but I'm saying you still think that an entire studio, because how many people work on these movies? Like, how many people do you think work on a Sonic movie?
Probably
So
like
much.
hundreds, because they'd have to have
In terms of
people
sound
in for
design,
everything.
in terms of that, maybe never, like, they have to, some of them have to see the movie. Voice actors, you have the animators, you have the people who specifically only focus on the stuff that's going on in the background.
I feel like Sonic's animation is a bit smaller deal than vaccine.
That's what I'm saying. It's a way smaller deal. I'm not comparing and contrasting.
But the amount of people that yell about Sonic compared to people that yell about vaccines, technically Sonic is a bigger deal with how much publicity it's gotten.
I mean, true.
Like, in the time frame, it's probably talked about more than vaccines have been talked about in the past year.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I think that it could have elements of a PR stunt to it, but I just don't see it as being this huge mass conspiracy about Sonic like they did this.
Yeah.
Strictly, there probably was some stuff going on about it, but I would say it's more because of the backlash than anything else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel like if it was PR, it would have been talked about more. Sony would have talked about it, because Sony never directly addressed the whole Sonic issue. It was always Paramount and the other VFX studio, where it was Sony Pictures who helped do the VFX as well. They never commented on it. It was always the Japanese studio and Paramount, and then the creative team. I feel like if it was a PR thing, Sony, who love their money, would have tried to chime in on that as well.
That's true.
Because they would have done a big chunk of the visual effects.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we all have different thoughts and opinions on it. I don't see it being like this big, huge, mass PR thing in terms of. I think that they probably would have left it like that if there wasn't as much of an uproar amount of people that complained about it. So I think that if
I
you're,
mean, more people will definitely go and see it now.
oh yeah,
That it's this new, like, unless halfway through they
It just cuts and
they
it's
cut
back
it
to old
out.
Sonic.
Yeah,
If they-
so I think a lot of people will go and see it now because it's more
Yeah.
appealing. It's more, easier on the eyes.
I wouldn't even be surprised if they can't even if they can't edit the whole if this wasn't a PR stunt, if this was like they actually did try to redo it all, but I wouldn't be surprised if what we're seeing from like the rework of that they did, if it actually isn't even that well done, but they had to like try to convince us. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it came out and it looked even worse than it does now. Like, it works worse than that, and it just like, but they didn't show us that part because animating movies like this is hard as fuck.
But the thing is, I take a hit to quality as long as the design is good.
Yeah, it's only I only care about the design. The
It's
thing
like,
can
if it's
look
a bad design but really good quality, the movie is, I wouldn't touch it. But if it's lower quality but really good design,
Different
it's
story.
that bit better. You go,
Yeah.
okay, they could have done this better, but
the hardest parts of the code would have been. I mean, yeah, the main frame of everything would have been.
I agree
well,
with
not
there
that.
even.
still.
Well, not even. They would have had to redo it because these proportions have changed.
Yeah, he has. He's
That's what I'm
smaller
saying.
now.
Yeah, they would have had to.
They
would have to redo all.
They would have
that.
had to like edit
They
the
couldn't
models
just
a bit.
remap them.
I mean, I completely agree with what Bevan's just said about the detailing. Even though, like,
Yeah.
he's not great,
It's the hardest thing
but,
to do
like,
in visual
he
effects.
is
It's not
very detailed. Like,
not
you can see,
backlighting.
like, it's the light in his eyes, you know, like, the hairs, the gloves. Like, you can see, like, the little bits of, like, fabric.
which is really, really
I
hard
mean,
to do.
it is really...
It's something they did with Pikachu. The scene where they're
Yes.
interrogating Detective Mime.
Yeah.
Detective Mime, Mr. Mime.
Detective Mime.
And you
Oh,
can see
there you go, Rich.
you
New
can see
name.
like the peach fuzz on
Yeah.
the edge of his tail where the light was passing through it.
Yeah,
That's
I think
really
it's
hard
fab.
to do.
I do notice little things like that. I did definitely notice that in Pikachu as well. All the like little details. I don't know why. I just zone in on them. Like, I'm no artist, but I definitely just zone in on these things, and I'm like, oh, I can appreciate them, and I appreciate that they added in like, look at the spikes like
Yeah.
on his
Yeah.
head and
Yeah.
stuff.
And I
You
get just
can't-
saying that lighting is super easy dynamic these days. It's super easy when you have a real world reference to work off. When it's something that you don't have the real world reference to, 9 times out of 10 you have to build that from
It's
the
like-
ground up.
It's like that ray tracing and stuff like that. Like how
Yeah.
everything can just be processed based on you know, basically like computing about
Yeah.
how you determine those things. But
But it's something like this, which is it's a completely CGI'd character. When you have to deal with, you know, motion and things like that, each one of those strands would have had to been done.
I just
Even though they
yeah.
have fur presets that they could have just dragged and clicked and
Yeah.
onto the model, they would have had to fine tune it themselves.
I just think I don't know, Corey. I think that you're not giving like the artists enough credit. I think is what it's coming down to
I
though
mean,
when
the
you say
time
stuff
that
like
they've
that.
done it in, hats off, 100%.
Yeah, even if they've
They
only done the
deserve-
trailer scenes, that's damn impressive.
Yeah, they
Considering
definitely need a lot of credit. A lot of credit.
The final fight scene from Black Panther, the really bad one, with the atrocious visual effects,
Yes.
where they all look really rubbery, that was 2 months. They had to do that scene alone. And that's the best that they could work up. So if that's what they've worked up in 4 months,
Yeah, I'm see-
What can they do in another 4 months?
Credit where credit's due, kind of thing.
I feel like at the very least a small team was working on a fallback new version. You know,
Maybe.
Rich, I do feel like that could be something
Yeah.
where they released it and they were like, well, let's have people keep working on designs, because that happens a lot in anything, right?
Yeah.
Where people will release the final version of something, but then they'll have someone keep working on that stuff
Yeah.
in the background. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
I mean, that's just good movie making, isn't it? Did you see then they released deleted scenes from Endgame?
Oh yeah, with Disney Plus's launch.
Yeah, they released a load of things. Like, there's so much more going on in the background and being filmed and being produced and
Yeah.
being created that they have to kind of whittle it down to an hour and a bit, an hour and a half, whatever, however long the Sonic movie is. I don't know. I've not even watched the new trailer, to be completely
Yeah, they-
honest. I just looked at pictures.
They probably had different versions, and a lot of these assets were already been worked through. Like, that's me more than. Oh, and I don't disagree with that at all. If you're talking about that as the PR stunt, though, like as like a whole PR stunt of where they were like, we'll release the shit version and see how people's. I guarantee what it was is that was the version that they thought was going to be the best. They had
Yeah.
most of it
Yeah.
created for it, so they're like, we're going to release this. And then when it did bad, they were like, well, shit. Good thing that we were working on other stuff. And then they were like, we're just going to have to flesh out more of this
Yeah.
thing. I wouldn't be surprised if in that short amount of time frame, if they didn't work on stuff enough, if we get something where the looks of it are really good, like how we're looking at it, you know how it looks really
Yeah.
amazing. If the looks are good, but in terms of like the actual effects, kind of look like shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being the case because of it. And no, well, of course, they did concept art, multiple ideas. Yeah. I don't think anybody actually believes that they reanimated the entire film. I mean, I don't think. Well,
Well, they would have
obviously
had
dumb
to
people.
because the film was finished.
No, I'm
So
saying
they would
like
have had to redo Sonic in every
I'm saying
scene.
completely reanimate, as in like the assets, the models, and completely start from
I
scratch.
wonder,
A lot
did
of
they
them
have
would
like the
have to.
guy in the
Like,
background
because his
that
fur
just did it?
texture is different.
But if you create though, like we said, if they're already creating these different versions, then it's a matter of they had several models built up,
Yeah,
and then it's a matter
several,
of
like,
them.
rough models. You
Yes.
do rough because how they do it is that they'll make maybe 7 or 8 rough workups, which look like PS2 games when they do them, and that's what they present, and then they decide
Right.
from there what to do.
That's
So
what
they
I'm
would
saying.
they would have been started working off essentially a PS2 model.
And that's what I'm saying is that I would definitely say that it's not a complete reanimated process, but they definitely had to. Whatever asset they had was a rough thing.
Yeah.
That's why it's taking. It's like, you know, these 4 months that we're talking about. That was time well used for what they had, because that was all on just the finishing touches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so they may not have done everything, but I'd say they had to do a lot. I'd say it was a ridiculous amount of work that they were probably put under to try redo it all. Because at the end of the day,
Right.
it still is an entire movie
Right.
with a CGI character that interacts
Yes.
with real people.
And we have to also remember, though, you know, with what Corey's saying is right, though, mocap movements were already done, so you have the basic framework of the stuff. That's true, okay? All the story stuff is sorted out. That is the longest aspect. Like, in terms of how things are animated nowadays, like, this is clearly, like, with the CGI that it is, that's not, like, hand-drawn, you're drawing each frame. This is stuff where it's animated with animation programs, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Where,
obviously, yeah.
So, like, we all get that. And that's why I'm kind of, like, I'm in a very big, like, middle between of what these guys are saying and what you guys are, like,
Yeah.
what it's like some people are saying it's all completely redone and they've done everything differerently. Some people are saying it is all just a massive fake thing. I say it's kind of like more like in the middle. This is a hard task, but it's literally super not a big deal. I mean, with the extra time that they gave themselves and stuff like that,
Yeah, but I feel like that's kind of taken the work for granted a little bit. I think we take, you know, visual effects and CGI a little bit too much for granted these days, going, oh, you redid that. Not a big deal. It's not that difficult. If
No,
it's not that difficult, I'd like to see you redesign
Yeah,
Sonic
it's-
in 4 months.
Yeah, and to me, I don't think anybody's giving credit towards the studio.
I mean, they deserve
The
literally hats off.
The
for
studio
the
no one gives a
work
shit
that they've
about.
produced in the
Yeah,
last
you know,
couple
no
of
one
months.
knows the name of it.
I
It's like Mozart Animation Planet or something.
I don't-
They're called.
Did you say that they just did mainly games?
They did like the Sonic games mainly.
The Sonic games.
That's been
So
their
maybe
main
that's
thing,
what they were kind of
and a
working
few
on.
animes
Yeah.
here and there. This is their first proper live action feature.
Well, then credit where credit.
But in
is
terms
due.
of like the movie studio and stuff like that, like I don't give a shit about them. I'm saying I think that we should give credit towards the animators.
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm saying,
think
yeah.
everybody's saying. No one cares about PlayStation. They do deserve credit. This is painful to listen to as an animator.
I know, I keep thinking of Bev as
Yeah.
we're sitting here talking about it. I'm like, that Bev's probably sitting there going,
We're talking about a giant studio hiring people for less money than they deserve to do shit they are highly capable of doing with unlimited tools. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's what we're saying. Like they have all that stuff. The thing is, though, is you're thinking that in that line of thinking, you're assuming that this movie studio is willing to spend unlimited amount of funds and give them an unlimited amount of tools to do this, when a lot of time is that stuff is taken out and they're given something where it's enough where they're not spending too much money or too much time.
Yeah.
Like, and they're not getting paid enough. I mean, if corporations and businesses and stuff actually paid for the right tools that they should have, paid for the stuff that they should... Like, I mean, when I was working as a graphic designer, the company that I was working for didn't even want to spend the money on getting the proper, like, photo editing tools, but they wanted us to manipulate shit, and they wanted us to do... But they didn't want to pay for the stuff. The fact of the matter is, like, yes, it's a huge company, and yes, they make millions and millions of dollars, but they make millions and millions and millions of dollars because they constantly forego certain things that they could do to make it for cheaper and easier. You know what I mean?
Look at those people have salaries. The people in like the big studios, like say Sony and Paramount, have a salary, but the actual animation studio don't. They'd work off the money that they're given for the project. They get paid upon completion.
But they get paid then, like, once the movie comes out, they'll obviously get a
Yeah,
cut of
like-
whatever it makes in box office.
Yeah,
and
like
stuff.
any small animation studio, that's how it works.
Yeah.
They're very much self-funded until they get a job.
Yeah, I'm talking about, though, in terms of the
Just
corporations that
Very sad.
buy the software and the stuff that they use and all that stuff. I'm not
Yeah,
talking
like,
about...
no corporations bought their stuff.
Like, not... Well, I mean, like, they buy licenses, is how it works. They license stuff out, but they're only gonna... that doesn't mean that they're gonna license out the best top-of-the-line stuff for
No,
people that have the
not
best
even.
top-of-the-line. Especially if it's for something like the Sonic movie where no one expected to be that popular or
Yeah.
that interested in anyways. That's the whole reason I think that they ended up changing stuff, was because they didn't think people cared enough from the get-go. And then when you had millions of people that were like, this is terrible, now we're not going to see it, they were like, oh wait, we could have got a ton of good, like, press off of this, and we could have gotten a ton of people to watch it, more than we thought people would want to watch a Sonic movie.
I mean,
Let's
that
put
doesn't
more
make
into
any
it.
sense to me. Sonic, in my world, is huge, especially for people that grew up playing Sonic.
Yeah,
as,
but you're thinking of...
like, back in the day, in the
back in the day.
90s.
You're thinking of the 90s, though.
You were only born at the end of the 90s.
You're thinking of the 90s, back when Sonic was a huge thing and Sega was a huge thing, but they're not anymore. They're actually trash now.
I'd actually love a good Sega Mega
Sonic
Drive.
and Mario at the Olympic Games was a bomb-ass game.
Yes, agreed. I used to play that. Oh, memories.
Oh my
Amazing
god.
game. Apparently they still make those.
I play
Apparently
it.
they make one for every Olympics, and it's just the same game every year.
What is a boss that made you give up on a game, or was just super, super hard and you felt like you wanted to give up the whole time and it took you forever to complete?
I'm gonna go.
You gonna leave?
Yeah.
Because your answer is Bowser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really like him.
Oh.
Okay.
Becca's already answered, she's leaving now.
Oh. Alright.
Bye!
Alright. The first, Brock in Pokemon Yellow. Oh my god, so true, Corey. The first boss in Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
The first boss in Dark Souls 3.
Ulix Gundyr.
That made you give up on the game?
No, not me. It made Bevan give up on the game.
You wanna know something? The first boss in Dark Souls 3 I beat my second time going against. Actually, no. I'm pretty sure I beat him my first try, but I died 3 times on my way to him. And then I fought him.
So you died on like the easy parts, and then got to the bit
No,
a bit
because-
more difficult.
No, because I explored everything before I continued on.
Oh, so you'd like run into a
And
dead
so,
end,
and
then,
no, I still go to like a sneaky trap. Oh, it was my first time playing Dark Souls. That gives you
that's
something.
valid enough.
But
Not really though.
what boss made me give up? What's the boss in Dark Souls 1
Okay, I'll tell you this.
where it's in Blighttown?
The spider lady.
Yes, the spider lady.
I forget her name. Quailag is her name. Where she like spits lava and shit at you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She made me give up.
really.
Yeah, because I was playing on the original, I was playing on the Xbox 360,
Oh, and you had the terrible frame rate.
and my frame rate was like
yeah.
20 FPS, and I remember I had died for like the 20th time, and I actually threw my controller against the wall, turned off the Xbox, and I did not play the Dark Souls 1 ever again, and I never beat Dark Souls 1.
Really.
Yeah.
You should make a return to it.
I should.
You should get the remastered version.
Yeah.
Apparently they fixed the frame rate in Blighttown.
I own it on Steam.
Ah. Then you've no excuse.
Yeah.
I don't know. A boss that made me give up on a game. Like where I was just like, outro.
Yeah, you just couldn't do it
Just
anymore.
couldn't do it anymore. Oh, I don't know. If I'm honest. Probably be something really dumb. What would it be? Let me think here. Give me a second to marinate on that. Probably be Lady Butterfly in Sekiro.
I've never played Sekiro, so
She's like this old lady, and my god, Bev can account for this for how many
You were
times
close.
I bloody died with this.
I wasn't able to get that, so
Yeah, Lady Butterfly is a bitch and a half because she has like, you kill her, and she's like, "Oh, good job. Now you have to fight the real me." And it was like a fake person that whole time, and then she hops down. It's phase 2, and she has a full health bar again. And
Oh
you don't
my
get any of your
God.
stuff back, so it's like, "Oh, here we go again."
oh my god. All right, on from that then.
Yeah.
Let's take what Corey said. His question: what was the most accomplished feeling boss fight victory though?
Most accomplished feeling.
About a year ago now, I played through on the Super Nintendo Mini or whatever,
Yeah.
the classic. I played through and beat Ghouls and Ghosts or whatever, Ghouls and
Yeah,
Goblins,
yeah.
the one for the Super Nintendo.
I know the exact one you're talking about. I watched you play it one of the days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you can attest to
Yeah.
how much that game was making. At one point I was like in
It's like
tears.
you would
next to
play for 10 minutes and you'd get so frustrated.
and like the only thing that I did, like I didn't I didn't use save states or anything like that to cheat. The only time I used save states was when I was turning off the I had to turn off the console, like cause I don't like to leave my shit running like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And I saved the state to like a spot that I was in, and then that was it. Like I never like cheated and was like, oh, I'm gonna put myself right here, save state. I was like, no, I'm gonna completely play through this game. And I remember having to go through that last battle and like having to get the knife to kill Satan, I think is who it was.
Oh.
I think his name is Satan or the devil or something like that. I had to kill Satan. And you kill him, and after you kill him, which is a hard enough fight, the game tells you you didn't get the real ending, you didn't actually beat it, and you have to play the whole game through again. And I had to play the whole game through again, and I had to get a shield on the level that was like the last level, and the shield, let me tell you, sucks. It is not the knife.
Ugh.
Or was it the shield? It was the shield, and then there's like a fairy weapon, I think is what it is. It's like you have to get the shield, and then you have to get a power-up with the shield that turns into the fairy weapon, or something stupid like that. And then I had to go kill Satan again. And I remember when I beat him, I felt in my core of my stomach like this joy that I cannot ever explain ever again. And it was the best time, like the best thing I ever done beating a game.
That's a pretty valid one.
Shao Kahn and Mortal Kombat 9. That was, I remember that fight. That was a heinous fight. I remember I played the whole game and I had like some issues as you started getting closer to the end, but for the most part I was like, oh man, I'm pretty good. And then you get to Shao Kahn and it was like pulling out your teeth because he knew everything that you were going to do and did combos that no one else through the entire game ever did.
Bum ass game though.
It was a good game.
That was a good game.
Was Mortal Kombat 9 Annihilation or Armageddon?
Ooh.
Or yeah, and you have to be Raiden. Oh my god. And you don't ever... Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. I remember it so clearly.
For me, though, most accomplished victory that made me just feel amazing probably would have been the first time I beat Mega Satan in Binding of Isaac.
Mega Satan?
It's like, you'd work your way through the game, and you'd, like, get to Satan, and you'd kill him. It's like, yeah, great.
Oh, Mortal Kombat is just Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
And then Mega Satan pops up, and you have to fight him, and he spawns, like, the Horseman of the Apocalypse as the boss fight's going on, and it's just hectic. Yeah,
Binding of Isaac was really good. I never got to the very end. I always died in the boss that was right before, like, the ending part.
Oh
no, I did beat the game. No, I have beat the game.
Because there's multiple endings to it.
But I didn't get like Mega Satan or whatever. I've just beat the game.
You have to do certain things to get Mega Satan. It was the first time I did it. I never felt so good in all my life. And then not long after, I think it was Hush was the boss fight they released after that. He wasn't difficult, but he was just a bullet sponge. And that just made me quit the game.
Fire Emblem 8's Giant Dragon Boss is one of my earliest accomplishments. I'm not familiar with that one.
I'm not good with Fire Emblem, I'm afraid. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other fights. The thing is there's like plenty of fights and stuff. Oh, you know what? In Chrono Trigger, having to fight the dragon area when you go back in time, and you're fighting the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah.
I can't remember its name, and fighting it. And beating it and trying to beat it before you finally like realize when you're older that you can get ruby vests that cut your fire damage in half, which cuts like the most of the damage that you get. And I remember going through and being like, I can't believe that I didn't know I could get ruby vests and make it that much easier on myself. And I actually had a friend that ended up playing. I let him borrow my Chrono Trigger for the DS, like, years later. And he got to that part, and he, like, could not beat that boss. And I explained to him what to do, and he's like, oh, I didn't know that. But, like, he never did it. He actually just quit playing the game because of that boss. That was one of the ones where he had to quit, because he just couldn't do it.
Here's one for you. What, to you, was the most heartbreaking moment in the game?
like wanted to cry.
Yeah. What got you the most? What was the most like impactful?
Ooh, it's hard to say. The Last of Us 100%. Oh, The Last of Us
was pretty emotional.
I didn't play through all of The Last of Us though, unfortunately.
It was pretty
but the
emotional.
beginning is definitely heart wrenching.
Oh, the end is worse.
But, for me, I would say, I'll say this: as a game, the overall saddest, and most depressing. Now, I'll say real quick, just because there's no singular moment that I can think of off the top of my head, but Nier, you ever play Nier for the Xbox? Like the original Nier?
Yeah.
Is hands down overall probably the saddest game that I've played.
That is pretty
overall.
sad.
Especially when you get to the second and third playthrough and you start being able to read the monsters the enemies thoughts, and it tells you what they're saying, and it's just
You just feel
brother as you kill them, and you're just like,
what am I doing?
no.
It's like that moment when you realize maybe I'm the bad guy.
But in terms of a single saddest moment to me that really just heart wrenched me, it's so hard to say. I can't think off the top of my head. It was really, really sad when in Nier when I watched what's her name die before I knew that she was gonna come back the first time I played through it, and I was just like,
I can see that. Yeah.
Kanye. I'm just kidding. It's Kanye.
It's Kanye.
It's Kanye.
It's
Yeah.
Kanye.
Kanye. I think it is Kanye, but it's just spelled differently.
Is it?
I think it is.
Actually?
I think it is.
I'd be scared. I'd be very concerned if it is.
It's something close to that. Kanye.
Oh yeah, it is.
It is Kanye.
Yeah.
What was this? Emil when Emil sacrifices himself to save you. I remember I was like, and the music, and you're just like,
just having a little cry in the corner.
Gears of War had some fucking moments. What's
Gears of War did have some moment. That's emotional.
enough sad stuff. All right, man. How long has this been so
How long
far
have we been
now?
going?
Oh Jesus, almost 3 hours.
Nice.
Well, no, 2 hours because I had that playing for a while.
Think time.
Well, on that note, I think that's it for this live episode of it's a fancy filter for this live episode of the Geek Cause podcast. It's time for pizza fries, it's time for a little jog, and then it's time for Stardew Valley stream.
Ooh.
So if that's all anybody has for something else, we had cake on this live stream. We talked about China. We talked about Pokemon Sword and Shield. We talked. Thanks to Becca for making it the best.
Yeah. she made this worth it. Not a complete failure now because of that.
Exactly, because we all know Kyle wouldn't have remembered to bake a cake.
I would have. I would have. I would have got up extra early to bake a cake.
It'd have been like this big. It'd have been like, here you go, half for you.
It's like literally just 2 slices.
You are welcome. Yes, thank you so much, my wonderful wife. But yeah, we talked about a lot of stuff, the Super Mario thing. We talked about a lot of things, so I think that's it though. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We love you.
You're the best.
We appreciate you. What do I say after I already say appreciate you?
You usually say goodbye.
Yeah, but you could say goodbye since I said it, and now I say goodbye.
I have to say goodbye.
Okay.
You have to say goodbye,
But
because I have
see-
to do my goodbye. I can't do my goodbye, then your goodbye.
So, but you usually say we love you, and then I say...
Yeah, because you took that from me.
Yeah, because you weren't saying it.
messed this up.
I stared at you.
Bye!
Goodbye.
Bye!